I finally made it, Mom. I finally made it.
Hello and welcome to Quackcast number 303. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. No, 304. Damn it, I was just reading it and telling myself not to say 303, but it's 304. Anyway, Happy New Year. This is the first Quackcast of 2017, so you can forget all that mess up. It's the 2017 cast. Happy New Year, Baines, Pitface, Tance. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Wait. Yay. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, and we imbibed and drank a lot, and we're recording this the day after, so literally for all of us, it's the day after. 24 hours later for me, but for these guys, it's a bit closer, so they're suffering more than I have. So we're going to be talking about the difference between, not the difference between, but the simplest way to set up, well, what defines evil in fiction. The simplest way evil is defined in fiction. And also good, you know, the two sides of the same coin.
Evil!
I was just thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's the title I've given the
So
podcast.
weird.
An evil with 5 E's. So, yeah. It's the right
Evil. Yeah.
So that's the topic. But, so the simple ways you set it up in fiction, I know, like, evil is far more complex, it's relative, it's all about, you know, unintended consequences and blah, blah, blah. You know, I think I'm good, even though I'm evil, you know, that kind of thing. But, there is a very simple way of doing it. You can sort of just, not just doing the Darth Vader thing, like paint someone in black, the good guys in white, that kind of bullshit. It's, like, you know, selfishness, selfless, all that kind of thing. Just simple character traits you give people, and that's a good shortcut to it. But before we get into that, let's give everybody our featured comic. Now, this is brought to us by Quaidagakse, and it is called Righteous. Righteous. Now, this is a bit of political commentary in this comic, so enjoy. Take it away. Kawaii.
Hello, this is Quaidagakse, and the feature I've selected for this week is Righteous by Righteous Comic, and it is rated E for everyone. In the words of Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka, hold your breath, make a wish, count to 3, come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Imagine a world where everyone woke up one day and fully committed to doing the right thing. Blood donation lines would be out the door, models would advocate against sweatshop labor, animal poachers would no longer feel the need to kill, oil companies would switch to green alternatives. It is possible to get a peek into that world by reading the Righteous webcomic. Chapter 0 shows several different new scenarios where the main characters have a change of heart and actively try to make a positive difference. Each page will leave you feeling better than the last and might even inspire you to do the same in your own life. The art is digitally colored and uses digitally inked lines and vibrant colors. The art style is even reminiscent of traditional comic book art. Commit to do the right thing and read Righteous by Righteous Comic, rated E.
And that was Kawai's brilliant take on the comic Righteous. Okay, Righteous in all capitals, I think it's spelled too, so it's Righteous. Righteous. God,
Righteous!
Not good after drinking and crap. Alright, next up we have the featured music by Mr. Gumwallace, and he's given me lots of them. He's just squeezed them out. It's amazing. His latest...
Like little Hershey's Kisses.
His music is... Oh my god, I think I've deleted all the stuff. Like, I set up these notes, so I have the music. No, I have it. Shit, it's there. Okay. So, Gumwallace's music is the Cull. So if you know that comic, it's a brutal story about violence and tribalism and redemption. Very brutal, and there's even like hints of sexual stuff happening in there, but it's still M-rated, so it is covered. But yeah, it's a very full-on.
The best kind of stuff.
The best kind. So enjoy this music. It is the music to the cull, and I would describe it as being totally evil. No, it is a Where did I describe it? Okay, here it is. The theme for the cull. It was dark, haunting, compelling, Eastern European Jewish country rock, and reminds me of Tracy Bonham's later work. So there you go. A very confusing description, but listen to it and you'll hear for yourself. Take it away, Gumwallis. The cull. That was Gumwallis's beautiful rendition of this very violent piece of work. So enjoy it. The cull. All right.
I love violence.
And I love sex. It's the perfect marriage.
I love
violence.
culls. Oh, damn it. Never mind.
Cull.
Okay, move along. They can't all be gems.
Oh, God. All right. So good and evil stuff. I have to go and talk about this now. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. What defines evil in fiction? I say one of the simplest ones is bad guys are selfish, good guys are selfless. Now that sounds very simplistic, but hear me out. If I can find where I wrote it. Good guys are selfless. Okay, so this is massively oversimplistic, but it's a good, easy template for basic heroes and villains. Basic ones. It's just a good, quick thought experiment to work out what's an easy way to define good and evil for characters in fiction. And you can even think about how it applies in real life, but, you know, there are a lot of caveats to that because real life is more complex than fiction. The more selfless someone is, the more good they are. The more they think of others, the more they want to help people and put the needs of others first and the masses or whatever, the more willing they are to reach across to enemies, you know, make friends with the enemies and all that kind of stuff. They turn out that those are very easy signifiers for a good character, especially for, you know, younger people watching this kind of thing, because those are good life lessons. You want to teach young kids to share and be helpful and not be selfish. So that's a good way of defining good. Okay, and the more selfish a person is, the more evil they are, in that, say, they don't consider the needs of others or the feelings of others. They don't help out, you know, they only help out their own small group. They let others suffer. They help themselves first. And you can apply that to real life. Say, you know, I just had a thought just right then. It was perfect. Now it's gone. What is it? So they don't apply. Yeah. Okay. So a psychopath, sociopath, psychopath. So their whole thing about those people is they cannot model other people's feelings in their own head. They only consider their own needs and their own wants, their own lusts. And it doesn't matter if it hurts
no
anyone, 'cause they don't
empathy.
exist.
Empathy is the key working word here, I think.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's empathy, but it is a selfish kind of way of being in that the self is all that's important. It's all very self-focused. Others don't matter. So that's a real life situation where, that does define evil in a way. These people they hurt others and they don't exist well within society because of that. So and also in a way, the whole selfish thing is the more selfless you are, the more you fit into a society of people, the more you fit into groups. So the more selfish you are, the more of a loner you are, and the more, and not that loners are bad or evil or anything, but it's me first sort of thing.
Then, you have, the thing is, do you focus on the output or the motive? Because you have the socially acceptable psychopath, which is actually a thing.
Yeah.
Who the psychopath person is still looking out for number one, of course. However, they feel that the biggest net gain that they can have for their own self is if they help others. Like they feel that in the end, or not only in the end, but directly, they will gain more social acceptance, more leeway with other people, more maybe manipulability, if you want to go, to nefarious terms or whatever, by actually helping others. So these guys, are they good or are they evil?
You see?
Okay.
Good point.
Interesting.
So the idea is like, do you, and that is something that happens a lot in fiction. Like you can have someone that has an output that is at least objectively neutral, let's say, or even veering towards the positive. But the way that the motivation is described on this person,
Okay.
why paint them in a villainous light. And in the other side, you have people that are, the likable bastards of literature, where you have people that are being absolutely horrible. And they look to be self-serving, and they look to be harsh and aggressive and selfish and, but because we are being led to understand, quote unquote, like the motivation is described in a way that is socially acceptable, we like these people. Of course, we don't have to live with them. That's why we like them. But we do like them as well.
Well, yeah, as I say, when it comes to reality and stuff like that, there are a lot of different factors that modify and change that. Yeah. So being, in a simple way, being selfish is bad for everyone, but, you could have that could work as a leader. It could work well, and being selfless can be very bad. So if you give away everything, you can bankrupt your little community and, destroy everything by not not managing your resources very correctly and that kind of thing. So yeah, in reality, it does have things where it fits, but yeah, it's more complex. But it's a good simple model for fiction.
Yeah.
I was thinking I've been watching a lot of Adventure Time recently, going through there, and the character in that, Finn, the human, and his friend Jake, the dog, they're a great little couple. But the whole thing is that he is the champion. He is a good guy, and he embodies those things. He is selfless. He wants to help. No matter the stakes, he wants to help and be a good guy, And the chief bad guy is the Ice King, I suppose. He's like the default villain, even though he's not taken seriously anymore. But his thing is he's selfish.
Yeah.
He just wants to marry a princess. And it doesn't matter if they want to marry him. He'll lock her up in a cage and forced her to marry him and all this kind of stuff. You know, he's a Mr. Rapey kind of guy. Fortunately, he never.
Yeah.
But yeah, they define that really well. They really do. So yeah, that's my example. So if have you guys got any?
The great thing with Adventure Time too is like and this is another thing too. Like in a way, like I think about that sometimes how they do it, and maybe it's because of how unique and creative the show is. But like that's the type of thing where it almost feels like it should be abrasive, like almost like you're hit over the head. That you know this guy's good and this guy's evil, but it's not. So it's like, how do you walk that path too? Like, you know, you don't want to make it annoying, like to the point where it's just good and this is evil and this is the story and
they don't really do that.
Whatever, you know, like how do you, no, they don't. Like it's because I mean it's such a simple concept, you know, like you were just saying, the good and the evil. I mean, it's so typical, but it's done well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're subtle with it. They're not heavy because Finn in his way of being a good guy, you do relate to him, but he's a bit insane for a good guy. He's the archetypical white knight, but he goes way too far. So you don't really put yourself in his shoes, and he's not really your avatar so much. And Jake the dog, because they're bizarre in the way they act. Yeah, so it doesn't hit you over the head saying, yeah, this is good, this is bad. Now sympathize with these characters in the right way.
You're right. And then they did create some sympathy for the Ice King too. So yeah, you're right. It's not. Yeah.
They humanized him. They literally humanized him.
Yeah. They did.
And you know, there's this other issue as well, like someone that is a bad guy or a villain for one group might be a hero and a good guy for another. Like, for example, I suppose the Red Baron, I think it was World War One, would be a hero for the Germans, right?
Yeah.
And a very villainous big bad for the opposition, for the opponent. So
yeah,
it really depends.
Pilots, yeah, he was.
Of course, there are, and then you have like the super absolutes, so that they are everyone gets weirded out and says, okay, that is a villain, no matter where you look and what angle you look from. But how many characters do you have that are so absolutely quintessentially evil?
What, in reality?
Yeah.
Oh, in literature.
Oh, literature. I think lots.
Yeah, I just
in more simple stuff, more child focused stuff. That's where they are more quintessentially evil for various factors. I think the dumbest way to make an evil character is to set up some kind of tragedy in their life and say that's why they're evil. They became evil because this thing happened. Because that's meant to humanize them, but it also gives them an excuse and, you know, think, oh, boo-hoo, or whatever. That's not a justification for a person being evil, and it's not interesting. I think if you want to really set up a motivation for a character to be evil, and you want to be clever about it, then go the relative way. You know, they're not evil to their group of people. They're just wanting to help, or they're just wanting to do what they do because they think it's right, you know? That's a cleverer way than going, oh God, my wife, she died and now it became bad, you know, like Magneto or something like that, you know? I'm just acting out. It's their fault that I'm bad. It's what society did to me, man.
You know,
it's them.
This makes me think of, and I'm not to rip off anything, but I was watching, the Nostalgia Critic the other day, and he brought up a good point, as he usually has some pretty. And he was reviewing that movie that came out with Angelina Jolie, Maleficent. Now, I haven't seen it myself, But what he was saying was necessarily took this character who in the cartoon was awesome because she was just this
force of
perfect
nature.
embodiment of evil. She was charismatic. It was her. And they, for no reason, basically took it and like they tried to give her like what they did with like, you know, Oz and everything like that. Give her the thing that's kind of in now. Give them this backstory and like, well, she's like this because this happened to her and this happened to her. And like, and while sometimes
And
backstory
he's actually a good guy.
Yeah. All along.
Yeah, so it's like it was unnecessary. So like it there was no reason to like
It doesn't
character, man.
Yeah, they want to humanize a bad person, but they just weaken them. No longer are they a strong
Yeah, because what happened to
character.
all that awesome charisma and shit like that she had? All that shit we loved her for, you know?
Exactly, they become pathetic.
Let
and
her be a
sad.
bad guy because she's an asshole. It's fine.
So Darth Vader is a great example too. So you have Star Wars, the original motion picture. Oh, go on, Tons.
No, I was saying that I think it's like this is a problem like a collateral damage, so to speak, a problem of this trend that the villain is not a good character if they don't have like this super elaborate backstory
Yeah.
showing them as a good person and, being shoved into an impossible situation, but they are, inherently good or whatever.
Yes.
Like this sort of makes them fleshed out and more interesting, which is not the case because I think, like, for example, serial killers are fascinating and I don't think that anyone bothers to humanize them.
Well, some people
How could you?
do. Like Eileen Wuornos is a famous movie, Monster, I think it was, that humanizes her and says, actually, she was abused and this is the reason why she goes out and slaughters everyone she sees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and...
That's usually what it comes to. Or like with, I don't need any more examples. Never mind. It's fine. I always derail, so keep going.
I was going to bring Darth Vader. So Darth Vader's like a classic old-fashioned style villain dressed in black. He's all-powerful, fantastic, huge, big, tall guy dressed in black, deep voice. And he's a red sword, for God's sake. Everything in Star Wars, the original motion picture. And they humanize him a bit in the second film. What was Revenge of the... No, it's
Oh my God.
Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back. So they humanize a bit, like he's Luke's father or whatever. And then in the third film, he has redemption in a way. He sort of helps. Spoilers, anyone who hasn't seen Jedi. Oh my God. There's redemption.
Oh my God.
But they never humanize him. They never say, oh, he's like this because of this. He's just Luke's father who, well,
They
he's
do
just
it in the first 3
It went
episodes.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They do it in the first 3 episodes, the ones that nobody talks about.
that's what I was going to say. So then
I think that happens because people get... Go on.
I was going to say you've got these three crappy films that were written in a kind of bad idea to cash in on the whole thing, in the 90s or whatever. And you got Hayden Christensen being this humanized. Oh, he got turned bad, and his wife died, and he got thrown in lava, and and now the meme is there is a meme about Darth Vader not being incredibly evil. He's sad, he's crying, he's like that because it's a tragedy, which is not Darth Vader. That is not Darth Vader. That is prequel shit. That's nothing to do with the classic films that made the whole thing what it is. I mean, maybe I'm being too pro evil Darth Vader, but I think that's a perfect example of ruining a villain.
The corruption into evil, like how character that isn't, because nobody is born the devil, okay?
Except the devil.
They get progressively corrupted into being bad things. And that's where, character comes in and mitigating circumstances and explanations, not excuses, on how a person will end up being so and so and so. There's a very nice movie, and I keep forgetting its title, which looks like a bit found footage, but origin story of superheroes. And it's like these three boys, I think, are exposed to this meteorite or something, and then they start developing powers. And you see how these three people, one of them, spoiler, Chronicle, based...
I know what you're talking about. I know what story you're talking about, or what movie.
Yeah, good movie. Yeah.
So the
wasn't it like Unbreakable or something? Or no, that wasn't Unbreakable. No.
It's Chronicle.
Yeah.
So
okay.
What happens is that the guy that turns into a villain is turned into a villain very believably, but he's a villain in the end of the story. At least the way I remember it. I haven't seen it in a very long time. So there is a way to explain why someone has, turned dark, but you don't actually have to make the audience feel sorry for them. Why they do. Sometimes, especially in psychology, they say that the people that turn towards psychopathic behaviors or personality disorders and things like that, and especially those that become violently deviant, are people that have been through very extreme abuse. That doesn't mean, though, that you sort of excuse them for what they do once that happens. Or you shouldn't, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. But you don't actually need to do that. You can present a person that has become a villain and be terrible, and people can be scared of him and hate him and know exactly why he became that way.
Yeah.
I think...
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. There's a lag, so sometimes I know. I'm just going to say this, like, for anybody who's listening, when we do this, like, we're not trying to be rude to each other. Like, there's a lag a lot of times, and you don't hear if the other person's still talking. So, like, it sounds like we're all trying to interrupt. But you can finish your point, Tanya.
Okay. No, the thing I said was that wait a second, because now I just forgot what I was going to complete with. What did I want to say? I forgot. Sorry. Please go ahead and it will come to me.
Let us know if it comes back, man. But what I was going to say is, I think where this comes from is when these villains start to get humanized like this, like in the case of Darth Vader and stuff, it's when a villain starts to become popularized. It's almost like a curse in that sense, because then that's when people, they see that people have interest in this villain. There's something that people like, and then they start to kind of humanize them and give them this backstory.
Yeah. Round them out. They want to flesh it, make it more interesting.
Yeah. And something that since they see the...
Sorry, go. Yeah.
No, it's all right. No, I was just rambling some more. It's fine. Go on.
It's like, for example, if they do that with a character like the Joker, it's going to ruin that character in a big way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's not that character, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why we watch that character. We watch it because he's a sadistic fuck. You don't know what he's going to do next, man.
He's insane.
Exactly.
He's meant to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it seems like I haven't read all the Joker stories or whatever, but it seems like they make an effort. Like if they do reveal anything of his background, it's never clear cut if that's the truth. Like if he was abused as a young boy, or if he lost his family or something, it seems like it's often it's kept ambiguous as to whether that actually happened or that's just one possibility. So that's very smart on their part to keep that character, as compelling as he is. Yeah.
I do think that when in exploring the origins of a villain, that I think that the basic difference that if you want to actually serve them as characters and let them be villains, especially if you, not anti-heroes where they are, somewhere in the middle and they oscillate between good and bad because they have a gazillion problems and they're trying to work them through and they have these issues that they are working through and they are not exactly a villain and they signal that they don't even know themselves what they are. But I'm talking about those that are, purely in the dark side. Like, if you want to serve a character like that, it's like show how someone becomes that. And there are certain points in one's development where certain choices are made, and those are choices, and they are very instinctual. They come from either your environment or the way that you interpret certain things, or how much your level of fear of certain things, how adequate you feel of things. Okay, but they make choices that lead them down a path, and from a point on, there's no return. Like they cross some boundaries, and then there is no return, and they commit to that, and they know it. There is no compunction in a sense, even if they pretend and say, what have I done? I'm a good person and stuff. They know it, and you know it, that they are, bullshitting everyone. Boy.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no. Why not do that? Why not show that? That for me, for me, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I think some of them do sometimes. Like, they tried to do that in Star Trek. If you, like, Baines, you would know from watching, Deep Space Nine. With the Cardassian characters, there was this,
That's funny. I was thinking of him too during this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing was a very simple allegory of, like, the Nazi occupations of various countries, and slave labor, and the Cardassians were the Nazis, and they treated, like, the Bajorans like Jews, and this character was just trying to say, oh, we were colonizing, we were bringing, health to these barbaric people and safety, and then he gets into some kind of extreme situation, and then just basically has this insane rant and admits, oh, I considered them like dogs, like animals, they weren't worth to be treated like with dignity. They were like beneath me, and that's how they deserve to be treated. Yeah, so they exposed his rhetoric and his self-justification for what was really behind it. The nastiness and brutishness. So they do sort of do that.
Right. Yeah.
And that can work, the other way around as well. You can have a person that is being shown or grown to look like a villain and do villainous things, be an asshole or whatever. And then there comes this one defining moment where it's the moment where you choose whether to cross the line or not and actually commit, and this person cannot do it, and they have to turn toward the light side this time.
Yeah, that could be awesome, right? Be a great moment.
Yeah.
Like Darth Vader did in the...
That's actually one of my favorite
last movie.
That's one of my favorite moments.
What moment?
When they
when a person decides that they cannot cross the line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. I thought you mentioned a specific moment in a specific something other than Darth Vader. Yes, I agree. That's a great.
Now that you say it, there is a moment that springs to mind a lot, which is in the cartoon, The Last Airbender, which we were talking about when we were not recording, where you have this, one of the big antagonists to the group of good guys is this prince of the Fire Nation, who are basically the Nazis of the world. Okay, and he's like the son of the super biggest, baddest SS type, and there comes this moment, and he's not just like a token villain. He does certain things that are pretty nasty. But also they groom the character in a consistent manner that he keeps not crossing a certain line, although he does go very near, he never actually crosses it. And when he is cornered into crossing that line, he decides not to. And that moment, that episode where that happens is glorious. And I think that it also got awarded something for it. I don't remember what, but it was. So if you create a character, build a character that way, it pays off very, very well on both sides, I think.
Yeah, it
so
does. It's more, everything is more rounded and not in a silly kind of cliched way. So, it makes the whole work better. That, things have a pleasing structure. You're not damaging any of the characters in order to, put them in this position or give them life or whatever. You're not weakening them. So I like it.
Right.
What about you, Mr. Baines?
Well, I've been watching The Walking Dead lately, as I was telling you before we were recording, and there's a fantastic villain at one point. I don't know if I should spoil, but I'm watching the old episodes, so I'll spoil a little season 3, season 4, Walking Dead, for anyone who doesn't want it spoiled. There's a great villain, and I won't spoil too many details, but there's a really cool villain called the Governor, and he has a traumatic past. He lost his whole family, but this series takes place in a world where everyone has lost everything. It's sort of groups of survivors kind of thing. And there's a main kind of cast, a collection of survivors. But anyway, so they encounter this guy, and he's sort of in control of a little society that he's put together. And it ends up he's got these dark secrets kind of locked in secret rooms in this little neighborhood that they've turned into a safe haven from the zombies.
Okay.
And the main characters kind of fight against this guy, and he against them, and they beat him, and he's kind of abandoned even by his own people after kind of crossing the moral line. And then a few episodes later, or like an entire season later, but luckily I'm binge watching it, but he appears again, and he's been abandoned by his people, and he's been brought incredibly low. And you sort of see him over the course of a couple episodes, like you see what becomes of him and where he ends up going. And it's an amazing, this could be, because I just watched it, it's fresh, but I thought it was awesome. Like a villainous character who's brought very low, and to see what he does and the final arc of his character is very cool. I'm not going to say it's redemption. I'm not going to say it's not, because wouldn't want to spoil it, because it was very cool, but, it was very cool way of fleshing out a character and defining a character by bringing him very low and showing like kind of where he goes and where his choices take him in the end, without being, the protagonist or anywhere near it. It was very, very instructive, I thought, for writing a villain. Yeah, I dug it. Was that saying anything in my mind? Because I've seen it. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
Okay, I'll spoil it. So cover your ears if you don't want to hear this for the next 5 seconds. He does not redeem himself. Okay, good. Exactly. But it's very definitely worth a look. That's the dude with the eye patch.
Well, that's another shortcut.
So there's a villain. There's a shortcut for a villain right there. Exactly.
Eye patch.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
But, it's very neat.
There's this other version, like another way such a thing can go. Because what you said, Baines, is definitely the test of fire. Like you bring the character to his or her extremes and see where the chips fall, in a sense. And then you have like a villain or a good guy, and it's defined. But then you might have, and I remember there was this Greek movie, which was about a tough time again in Greek history, where you had a bunch of people that basically getting tortured by Gestapo types, let's say. So everyone is a good guy, okay, and they all hold out under they have the stamina, they hold out under enormous torturing and stuff. But one of them breaks, and he betrays everything and stuff. And after that, he gets destroyed. Like the others tell him it's okay and we understand and everything, but he's the one that basically cannot live with his own self, and in the end he ends up committing suicide because of this. Like he breaks, he can't hold it, and then it's like he has self-destructed. It's like the one thing that cannot allow him to continue. It's like something was, a switch was thrown, and it's impossible to continue after that. So
that's an
there's also this avenue.
That's right. Yeah,
that's a huge extreme. Jesus, self-villainy. It's.
I don't know. Would you characterize it villainy or goodness?
Redemption being goodness, but those are very complicated characters. That is so that like the original premise of this idea was shortcuts in simple ways of representing villainy, and this is we're getting into the advanced territory slowly, more advanced. Because I mean, you are like a film scriptwriter, of course, Tant. So you
not yet. Only after the fact you can call yourself that.
All you guys are accomplished wise, but okay. How do all you guys approach your villains in your styles of writing? And how do you set them up? Do you go for a simple approach, or do you go more advanced, or? Go on. I want to hear you, Baines. Tell me.
Yes, Baines.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll just say it first. It'll be fairly quick. Most of my sort of one-shot villains have been pretty... you don't see a lot of their backstory. They're at cross purposes to my heroes. But my comic doesn't really have villains to any great extent. A couple here and there. And they do have motivations that I think are believable in my cartoony kind of world. But it's... They're not out and out villains usually. Usually, I guess what defines them is that they're obsessed with control of others or something like that. I think in my head that kind of defines villainy, versus goodness.
All right.
That's all.
So you have a more complex kind of view of it.
I mean, I guess I figured the characters that you're with, my comic follows the same group of characters. You're kind of generally going to be on their side. And unless they're at each other's throats, which happens too, but they're at cross purposes with each other. But generally you'll be on their side, and whoever's against them will be, defined as the villain. So it's pretty simple in that way. But in terms of, most of my villains, I could write them as a hero. Not all of them, but most of them. I could do a heroic story about them, have them as the protagonist. That's a pretty
interesting thing. All right. Pick a, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
That is a great example of characters being evil because they are selfish. And they are all selfish. That is just how they are. They are all very evil. It's very simple, but these are the hero characters in that. I mean, they're the protagonists basically, and they all. Some of them morph into slightly more heroic than others, especially Charlie, but they are extremely selfish, and looked at objectively, they're always villains. All of them are villainous. And they try and come up with all sorts of complicated justifications for their behaviors. And I love the justifications that Glenn Horvather's character comes up with. What's he? I can't remember. Anyway, he plays one of these. Dennis. That's it. Dennis. He's the pretty boy who imagines that women are attracted to him, and imagines the whole world is. He's the emperor, and everyone else is just sort of feeding him peeled grapes. He's the golden god. He believes he has these wild
in his own mind,
grandeur, but he is like basically a textbook psychopath, rape, almost rapist sort of character, and that it's fucking hilarious that he doesn't realize that he thinks he's perfectly normal. And he thinks he's perfectly fine in the world, that he's this handsome guy that everyone loves. But the reality is everyone knows he's a super creep.
Right.
It is just so well done in that regard. What about you, Baines? What do you think of this? Because you put me onto this show. It's your bloody fault, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're kind of, they're funny. So like you're with them and you're watching it to laugh, and you're kind of, can't believe their depravity sometimes. And,
exactly.
I wouldn't think of them as villains, I guess, because it's a comedy and because of the way it is. I don't really think of them that way. I would think of, the McPoyles, the people who give them trouble and who they run into. Those would be the sort of the villains of the show.
They're not saying the villains of the show, but I'm saying, looked at objectively,
evil.
These people would be villains. Looked at objectively, they would be evil. Because of what it's like, say, in the last episode of Seinfeld, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they've just been going their merry way, doing their crappy things to each other or whatever. But in that episode, it finally gets exposed, and everything they've done comes back to haunt them. They actually, it all gets put into perspective. They thought they were just being funny and doing their own selfish things, but it turns out that actually they caused a lot of hardship and. So
forgot about that. That was a great finale.
That was good, yeah.
That's what I mean in terms of that. But Always Sunny in Philadelphia takes it to a super extreme, far beyond anything that Seinfeld had done. I'm not saying that because I'm saying it's better than Seinfeld or cleverer. It's just that they turned the knob up to 11, and they just went way more evil for the people and doing way more extreme things than you've seen in those kind of shows. Beautifully, so.
they kind of built on that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that is a perfect example.
How much can we make you like these horrible people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what this premise is about. Is how much can we make you like these horrible people? Yeah. And,
will you stay with them? Yeah, even though they're horrible.
And you don't have to humanize them. You don't have to say, Glenn's like this because his mum didn't love him as much as she should, and his dad was like a wacko, and don't.
Let's suck all the fun out of it, man.
Yeah.
And all right, we've talked about evil. Let's finish up with some good characters. Okay, so the classic idea is that like a super good person, like Superman is a Boy Scout, and he's boring because he's too good and all this kind of stuff. But I think from my first example of Finn the Human in Adventure Time, the good guys don't have to be super boring to be really good. You can be really good, and because of the way they've done it in that show, he's so extreme in his goodness that it makes it entertaining, and it gives him a more fleshed out kind of thing without having to make him slightly evil or give him a bad backstory. Oh, he's a good guy, but he beats his wife and he has a drinking problem. Typical stuff. Finn the Human's good, but he's blindly good, and he just goes in, full bore, and have his own arm ripped off because he's so extremely focused on, doing the right thing or whatever. So you don't have to have good characters being milquetoast. It's a stupid character. I don't think that's like a meme that, good characters are milquetoast and the bad characters are interesting because they've got something to. I think that's bullshit. That's bad writing.
Yeah.
It's always
I
bad
agree.
writing. Good characters can be good without dark backstories and all this crap.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I agree.
Some people actually have normal childhoods at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Oh, jeez. It was this thing where in the 80s, always the woman who was like a detective or something like that always had to have something bad happen at Christmas. Oh, Daddy got stuck in the chimney dressed as Santa. He found him in the summer.
Now that always reminds me of Gremlins, unfortunately.
What was that?
That always reminds me of Gremlins rather than anything.
And me too.
Oh, yeah.
Right away I think of Gremlins. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing, and for hero detectives, it would always be, his bad relationship with his wife and his kids, and he's divorced, and that was an old trope based on the 1910s, 1911, 1920s when they first started detective fiction. Kept doing it. Go on, Chance.
I think that in order to make a character interesting, I mean, whether good or bad, it would be like make the stakes and make the problem that they are solving, whatever that is, whether it is, for good or bad, make it interesting. Like, I think that the issue with Superman is mostly that there is nothing that he risks per se. Like the moment when he starts risking something, not necessarily his integrity, like, dying or whatever, but the moment he actually risks something that could hurt him psychologically, mentally, or whatever, then he becomes interesting. Immediately.
I agree.
Doesn't need anything else.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For my work, I can't say that I've done it. For Pinky, she's nominally the good character, but to humanize her, I haven't made her do anything bad, but I've made her selfish, just because I like that. I love selfish heroes, as in Tank Girl and Flashman and people like that who are just doing. They're on the right side, but they're still selfish, it's funny and it's fun. So yeah, I've just been sort of saying that good people are not selfish, but that is Pinky. She is selfish, so I'm a hypocrite. But then again, I said that's a simple way of doing it. This is simple. So she's slightly more complex. She has slightly more to her, or maybe that's just a simple way of making her complex. Yeah, that's it. It's wheels within wheels. So all right. What about Exus? Let's say Exus is a villain. He's not out for any good. He's not out for any greater kind of.
Yeah, he's pretty flat. He's out basically for one of the most selfish reasons why you can think of, to consume, to flat out just he wants to eat everything. Does he have to? Probably not, but he just wants to. And so destructive. I was thinking of something at first, because you guys, now that my comic's coming to an end, there's some of these spin-offs, I think of, for lack of a better word, that sometimes the characters I have lingering, I still think they're interesting. And for a little bit, I was considering writing this kind of backstory with Exus, but the very reason why I haven't is because of what we were talking about earlier. Like, I just, as interesting as I think some of the story might be, I don't want him not to be this evil character that just wants to consume, because if I make this backstory, it makes it seem like I'm trying to like, oh, he just, something happened to him and blah, blah, blah. And that's been the very reason why I've been afraid to pursue it. 'Cause I don't want that to be him, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's very black and white, and I think he's just going to stay that way.
As he should. It
Nice.
works for him.
Yeah.
It works for the style of story. What about you, Tance? You've got Nazis. So already you have a shortcut to badness.
Yeah. They don't think they're villains, actually.
Yeah.
If you ask them,
well, who does?
Yeah.
They think they're villains. You know what I mean?
If you ask them, and for some to a bigger degree, to others to a lesser degree, they feel that the guys doing resistance are the villains. Like they feel that they shouldn't have the goal or the right to do it. Like they are. And that actually is a historically legit thing that I'm saying. They complained. No, I don't think it was the UN. I don't remember exactly where they did that, but I think it was at least in the Nuremberg trials where they said, like, you know what, the Greeks were at fault because they did resistance when we occupied them, and that is a crime against humanity. I shit you not, because they were not wearing an army uniform, and that makes them non-combatants. And non-combatants, according to the international law, have no right to pose resistance to an occupying force.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So Nazis feel that they are the victims here. So, and eventually someone is going to mention that. You have to have the context to be able to show what they feel. So for example, when Bomb, who in my opinion is my story's monster, when he actually goes forth and is ready to tear apart a kid, he does it because he doesn't consider Fotis to be a kid. He is the enemy. He is someone that is like a little devil for him. So he feels justified and he feels correct in what he does. Others not so much. I mean, Arthur has his own personal issues because he cannot see kids being little devils. He has a problem with that. And other Nazis that are going to be introduced quickly, because now I'm running out of Nazis, they are dying quickly. They are going to span the gamut on what they feel and how villainous they feel themselves. Sometimes, maybe someone is going to ask, are we the baddies at some point?
Oh, no. Well, that is valid. Well, you can do that because they're part of a military. But you could do that because there's a lot of them. So you could have one person doing that without ruining the whole baddiness of them because they're not a homogenous group. They are.
And if I can add, like on the side of the good guys, like without Moonlight is from the point of view of the Greeks. So the Greeks feel that they are the good guys. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you have people that are behaving and are going to behave in a pretty villainous way, although they are, resistance fighters, or they side with resistance for whatever reason. So these guys, they don't feel that they're being villainous. They feel that they do it for the best interest of everybody, or they feel that they are doing it so that they can survive and fight another day or whatever. So they don't feel that they're being the villains, but when you see what they do, I think it's going to be very clear that they are performing some kind of villainy, at least.
Mm.
So there you have it.
Exactly. It's institutionalized villainy.
Yeah, I guess.
Systemic.
Oh my God, Baines, you win the words this week. You win.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've pretty well covered this topic brilliantly. So we'll wrap it up then. Okay, so selfishness versus selfless is good, simple starting point, but an easy little binary there that is applicable across many different fields, and there's life lessons to learn for younger people. It's very easy to understand, but you can add these things together like Lego and create new kind of villains and things like that. Be more complicated, so you can build on it and add
New
to it.
evil.
New evil. Until yes.
We all have to laugh in the most evil manner and have a thunder clap.
Oh,
background.
yes.
There's another shortcut. Yeah.
I'll have to put a thing on there. Okay.
That's how you saw a villain.
That kind of thing. Always, villains laugh for... I don't know why they do it, but they do. What could possibly be that funny?
They love to laugh, those villains.
Yeah, they're good guys.
I've legitimately villain laughed before when
Yeah.
I would chase my nephews around when they were kids and terrorize them. And I remember one time I got my nephew and I was tickling him and torturing him and shit like that. And I started laughing and he catches his breath and he goes, "Don't laugh like that!"
Wow. Struck a primal chord.
So I understand the villain laugh. I understand. It gets in you. You just gotta let it out, man. You gotta. See, you guys ain't done enough evil stuff. You gotta
I have even laughed before.
It's a mixture of Schadenfreude, it could be, and anticipation and intimidation.
Yeah, and a bit of like you enjoy the domination thing that you have going on there during.
Yes.
Whatever it is you're laughing.
Yeah.
Like that I'm going to gauge you my pretty kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the reason.
Exactly. Oh, well, on that note, I think we shall have reached the end of the Quackcast. Quackcast number 304.
304.
Yes. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Bye.